Welcome to Vlog 11. What is your personal brand? Now, put your name into Google and don't pretend that you don't do this. But I want you to not put your name into Google for vanity or curiosity or to find out what that former boyfriend is doing. In this occasion, I want you to be dispassionate. I want you to look at the first 2 pages of Google returns. See what you think about them and ask yourself, is that the type of online person that you think you should be, and it should be found by employers, future colleagues, students and publishers? Also, when you're looking at those 2 pages of Google returns, ask yourself how many of those websites are in your control, or is your online persona constructed at the whim and the opinion of others? Today I'm going to present our first session on entrepreneurship. As you may remember, one of our themes of 2016 for us in the Office of Graduate Research is entrepreneurship. But we're just going to put a toe in the water in this first session. We're going to look at the personal brand. We're going to configure your research as an online brand. So this is an important day, I think, and it's a project that will start today but will develop carefully and quietly through the next year. There are a lot of reasons we're doing this. Firstly, yes, it is about your employability, and I won't apologise for that. If you want a great job, it's my responsibility to help you get there. But it has, I think, an even more important role. I believe in you, and I believe in your research, but most importantly, I believe your research deserves to find an audience. Australian research cultures, and increasingly international research cultures, are monitored via proxies of quality. This could be the ranking of journals, this could be citation counts. But these days we live in a digital academic age, so we've got all sorts of strategies to measure your influence. We can count the number of times an article has been downloaded, and through Google Scholar we get all sorts of information about who is reading it and how your work is being used. We live in an era of the quantified self, and indeed the quantified academic self. But how are colleagues around the world going to find your work? The answer is we have to configure overt strategies to link your research with prospective readers. This is called disintermediation, by the way. We're removing links in the supply chain between producers and consumers. So this discussion, yes, is about employability, but disseminating your research to new audiences. There's a phrase I'm going to introduce to you today from Charles Ledbetter, and that phrase is portfolio career. Most of us are from the generation where we're going to have to live, and we will continue to live, in a really unstable workforce. Part-time work, casual work, contract work. The days are long over for my generation, for Generation X, and the generations to follow of that lifelong job. That time has now passed. And this poses incredible challenges and risks and problems for how we live and how we make a living. We have to be dynamic, we have to read international trends, and we have to adapt, and adapt quickly. So we're going to talk about branding and your research brand today in the development of a portfolio career. But we've got some very special shout outs to do. It's been an amazing week. It's been one of those weeks where I've received hundreds of emails from you all talking about all sorts of issues, but your support is so incredible. There's only a few people I can really talk about, but can I say to Emmanuel, who I saw last Friday afternoon, again, another wonderful gentleman that came and sat in my office and talked about his research. You are an amazing man. It was a privilege to spend time with you, and your research is excellent. So don't be a stranger, keep in touch, mate. Great to see you. The wonderful Catherine, thank you so much for your feedback about the last vlog on the teaching philosophy. Really outstanding feedback, and I'll embed that in future work that we do, but really, really top shelf stuff. So thank you for taking the time to give me that feedback. Kate, thank you, and thank you for sending the email, and congratulations on your publication. It is great work, and your thesis will be absolutely outstanding. And there's one more shout out I have to do. Well, really 3. a dear man who is incredibly supportive of me and incredibly supportive of this office and indeed all of you in doctoral education at Flinders is a gentleman by the name of Andrew. He is a fantastic man and he watches these vlogs with his two grandchildren, Alice and James, every Friday night. So Alice and James and Andrew watch these vlogs together, and he told me that that happened, and I think that's just lovely. But this week something quite magical happened. Alice, with I think support from James, sent me a film back. So they sent a film back talking about how they've engaged with the vlogs. So Alice and James, you are both amazing people, and I tell you what, you will be in our doctoral program very, very quickly. Thank you so much for my film. I can never tell you how much that means to me. You made it worthwhile coming back to Australia. You made it worthwhile coming back to Adelaide. So thank you for your time and your energy and your excitement. And Andrew, you've got a wonderful family there. So thank you for being you. You're the best, Andrew. So let's get going. Let's start with the brand, and then we can look at how we apply it to you and to your research. So the etymology of the word brand comes from the ancient Norse brander, and it captures the really complex history of the word. It can mean blade, sword blade, or it can mean fire, something that cuts through, something that makes change in the world. So from this etymology, branding, the verb, confirms difference but also ownership. Think about the branding of cattle. So through the 19th century, products started to be branded. So Quaker Oats, for example, Singer sewing machines, Coca-Cola, Kodak, 19th century brands. Through the 20th century, the word brand started to be used as a verb, branding, but also as an adjective, so branding strategy. The goal was consistency. So if a product was branded, the marketing campaign could ensure consistency throughout the range. So through the 21st century, we had individuals who started to think of themselves as a brand working in the knowledge economy. The phrase personal brand was first used by Tom Peters in a Fast Company article in 1997, but it was picked up and run with after 1999 when the Web 2 environment, the read-write web, started to emerge. The wonderful Celia Lurry, who is a remarkable scholar, remarkable intellectual, great teacher, I had the great privilege of examining with her in the United Kingdom doctoral programs, but she argued that brands are not definitive or certain. Instead, they're a relationship between an idea, a producer and a consumer. So this is the sort of general research on branding. How can we apply it to you? How can we apply it to your research? And the warning I should stress right at the start is you don't have an option not to participate in this branding. Now I know I've used a double negative there. I've used it intentionally. You already have an online brand. The question is if you have a role in constructing it. So Ryan Frischman, in his book Online Personal Brand, which was quite an interesting book I think, broke down the personal brand into skill set, aura and identity. So skill set was your functional value, if you like, your content, your research. The aura was the emotional value, and the identity was the way in which you connected your functional value with your emotional value. Now the word aura worries me a little bit. It's a little bit too hippie for me, but I think it does capture that intangible element of branding. So here is how we're going to use branding today, and I'm going for the quick wins, okay? So I would like to introduce a couple of ideas to you today that you can apply today, and a whole series of ideas that you may gently develop through the next 12 months. I'm configuring the strategy today like gaming, so I'm doing it in terms of level 1, level 2 and level 3, and at any point you can stop. You don't have to go any further up the levels. But let's get to level 1, and this is I think the thing you need to do now. I don't think we can really even debate about this. So get onto LinkedIn, academia.edu and Twitter. Get your publications up, get your experience up, get your expertise up, get your profile up there. The reason being, headhunters use LinkedIn. Let them find you, let them offer you a job. It's a very job-heavy website. Get onto LinkedIn. Twitter is incredibly important because academics are on Twitter. Also, your prospective readers are on Twitter. Engage in those dialogues about your work. Also, it's very important in Twitter so that you arch beyond your followers when you're tweeting out an article, for example. Use hashtags. So hashtag digital sociology, hashtag groundwater, hashtag Berylio. That means when people search for the hashtag, your research will appear. Also, follow academics you admire, work with other researchers online through Twitter, and also engage in dialogues with new readers about your work. So that's the ground level branding. LinkedIn, academia.edu, Twitter. Now, Google will pick up the activity on those websites, and very quickly those 3 websites will move to your first page of Google. Okay, level 1, let's move to level 2. And level 2 is the configuration of a personal website. If you can buy your own domain name, so tarabrabazon.com, brabazon.net, if you can buy your own domain name, that's great. If the money's not available for that, do not be concerned. Get a free site off WordPress or off Tumblr. Post your qualifications, your experience, your expertise, every single article you produce, make sure that's uploaded to the personal website. And if you write a blog, and I would recommend that, it only has to be a couple of paragraphs every couple of weeks, but make sure it talks about your research, it talks about what you're working on at the moment, link it to the article, the refereed article, and then link the blog via Twitter, via LinkedIn, via academia.edu. So you're starting to curate the relationships around your research. So think about a personal website as the steering wheel of your personal brand. So what a website does is it steers your personal brand into a particular direction. Okay, let's move to level 3. Now, this is the leisure-based end of social media. So I am completely comfortable if you do not want to move into this area. I'm a professional, I work in this area, I'm a media professional, so I'm very comfortable in this space. If you are not, do not be concerned. But we couldn't have this discussion today if I didn't mention Facebook, I didn't mention YouTube, and I didn't mention Instagram. Now, a lot of colleagues have a very rigid line that says, I will not friend PhD students, I will not friend colleagues on Facebook, and I completely respect that decision. Remember, I'm not telling you what to do today, you make your own decisions. I'm comfortable with that, and that will curate your brand. So I'm comfortable with those decisions. But I made a decision, guys, a very long time ago that I would never, ever, ever write anything on social media, or indeed write anything at all, that I'm not prepared for my mother, my husband, or the Vice-Chancellor to see. Full stop. There are no pictures of me online, drunk, hanging out of a skip with a half-digested kebab in my mouth, because I have never been drunk in a skip with a half-digested kebab out of my mouth. I have never been rude to anyone online. I will never be rude to anyone online. I come to every engagement with decency and kindness and respect and integrity. If I can't say anything good, I will simply remain silent. Also, please, it is important, particularly for the women out there, there's a lot of bad stuff where people abuse you or send nasty stuff to you. Please block every single time. Block, delete, block, delete, block, delete. The most important thing is your cultural safety. We always start from there. So I'm very comfortable to incorporate Facebook into my personal branding. I have friends all over the world, and the only way I can really stay in touch with them all is via Facebook. Also, I have 20 years left of my academic career. The chances are most of those 20 years will be spent outside of Australia. So my friends around the world keep me in touch with what's happening in higher education in Finland, in Malaysia, in Canada, and I'm very grateful for that. And also I have the best friends in the world. I love you all. So I curate my personal branding in a way that includes Facebook, but also please remember I don't have children. So I don't have to protect their rights. If you have children, that's a very different set of issues, so please feel free to make a very clear decision there, every respect. But having said that, my husband is a public figure, my husband is an academic, he's much more famous than me, and he curates his online brand with great effectiveness. The reason we're talking about families and friends here is because families and friends really matter in this bit of the social media element of your academic brand. So think about your family, think about your friends. My father, Kevin Brabazon, is 88 years of age, and he is on Facebook. Of course he is. But he curates his personal brand. He's very well aware his daughter is a dean. His son, my wonderful brother, Stephen Brabazon, is a great doctor who's been very active in regional health. He is a great human being. Steve Brabazon, an amazing person, and of course my son, my father's son-in-law, my husband, is also a professor. So Kevin is very aware of that responsibility. So he doesn't send anything or put anything on Facebook that would hurt any of his family. He's very conscious of that. Yes, he has some things that he'd like to say. Often that involves the West Coast Eagles or the West Australian share of the GST revenue, and at 88 he's got a right to say that, but he is very much in control and aware of who he is and who his family is. So you have a look at your friends and your family online, particularly on Facebook, and work out if they're going to just sort of tag you randomly with some party shot or say something a bit unfortunate. And if they are going to, then just make a decision that Facebook is not part of what you do in terms of your professional self. So you're making a clear decision here about what is public and what is private. But the decision that we make now in the 2010s about what is public and what is private is very, very different and more nuanced than we ever had in history. So what elements of your private self are you comfortable projecting into your public self? Now, I'm married to a very, very famous academic. I couldn't hide that marriage if I even wanted to. So we've incorporated that marriage into our online professional brand. We write together, we do consultancies together, we do grants together, we supervise students together, so people are very aware that there is a husband and wife team as well, and it's worked very effectively for us. And there is a reason for that. Firms no longer hire a worker 9 to 5. Firms are looking for us as workers to have a personal brand that aligns with their organisational brand, and that's a 24/7 project. And Facebook, carefully constituted, can present your whole self beyond LinkedIn with a few publications. Again, it's an absolutely right decision for you if you say, no, Facebook is not part of what we do. I'll do another vlog specifically on Pinterest, which I think could be really important to us in the future. But if you communicate through Instagram, if you are a picture or photography heavy engager in social media, then please feel free to keep going with Instagram. It's terrific, but again, curate it, make sure that that's the image that you want to create and disseminate. Always remember that there is an intangible element to branding. It's about perception and it's about emotion. Yes, you can manage that, but it's about other people's perception of you. So know the rules of social media and you manage that environment. Don't let it manage you. Most importantly, there's one final question I want you to answer before you decide on level 1, level 2 or level 3, and that is, what is the story that you want to tell? Every article, every tweet you send should hook back into the story you are trying to convey. So once you've worked out that story, then we can decide who's the audience, what applications, what interfaces best suit that work. Because when you select a platform, you also select an audience. So who is the key audience for you now? Are you trying to get a grant in the next few months, get a postdoc, get that book contract for that PhD when it's finished, or get a job? Who is the audience for your work? Now, I know academics very rarely market ourselves. we see it to be a bit crass, I suppose. But that debate is now over, because academics also complain, oh, no one ever cites my work. Well, now we have to be much more active. We have to go out into the world and claim an audience for our research. Our role as an academic never ends when the book is published or the article is published. We have a responsibility to disseminate it to an audience. So for the final little bit of the vlog today, I'm going to try and help you locate and isolate your personal brand. Your personal brand, and please remember this, is as an expert. You are not Kim Kardashian. I'm interested in configuring you as a scholar, as an academic, as an intellectual. That's the gig. The goal, therefore, is to package our work, our research, and our life in a way that reaches out and grabs that audience. We stand out through, yes, the quality of our research, but also our capacity to build a community and to communicate effectively. That is necessary because we live in competitive times of digital saturation. There's so much, too much information out there, most of which is poor quality. We as scholars have a responsibility to intervene in the public discourse and improve the quality of the material that's being read. So what I ask is, do the hard intellectual work for me. I know it can be personally confronting, but just try and answer the following questions for me. Who are you? What is your professional purpose? What is your education? What are your great achievements? What makes you different and distinctive? What are your passions? What is the focus of your research? Then, link your passions with the focus of your research. Write that sentence down for me, and that is your personal brand. From here, you start to gain control of that brand by deciding what is the hub of that brand. Is it a personal website? Is it YouTube? Is it Pinterest? Is it, for example, LinkedIn? Pick one particular site that people can always go to and they know they'll find your innovative work. So find your voice. Stand for something. Experiment, and most importantly, don't be afraid to be yourself. What this whole discussion is about is you becoming your best self and sharing that with the world. And that's what I want for you. So have a wonderful week, and as always, I wish you love, light, and peace. Tea out.